Hi, welcome again to Storytime with David Booker. Appreciate you coming back. Today we're going to continue on with the Galactic Culinary Society. If you remember last time we read, Jeanne had to go and she had convinced the council that she could find these sonnets that were edible. And she had to risk her ship if she fails, otherwise they'll pay for the things. If she fails, and she's got to reimburse them, her ship is collateral. So we're going to continue on. This is starting with chapter 5. Soon, Jeanne was hurtling from the Society's headquarters through the Astrolink, an ageless interstellar structure of sentient-made wormholes. Shortly after, her single-seat craft was parked near the rim of a volcano on Arcturus, 22 kilometers high, nearly as tall as Olympus Mons on Mars. Ominous clouds gathered at the summit. Hooking her repelling anchor into blackened pumice, she donned a breathing mask. The hydrogen sulfide fumes weren't too bad up here, but it would get a lot worse at the bottom. The descent would take the better part of 2 days. Peering down, she saw a long, dark funnel simmering with a hellish glow. Roiling at the bottom, a blood-red lake lava. A blood-red lava lake. She could feel its heat even at this great height. Jeanne locked the belaying rope to the carabiner on her harness and quickly lowered herself over the lip, occasionally taking a small hops, controlling their speed with the break end of the rope in her left hand. In the upper part of the cone, the encircling walls looked like they'd been spattered with massive gobs of tar, undulating in overlapping waves and smears, hardened lava. After a day's toil, she descended halfway into the throat of the beast, judiciously laying out her lines. She made camp on a thin ledge, drinking water out of a straw, inserted in her mask. Careful not to dehydrate, it was 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Laying her head back to rest for the first time since starting out, she glanced at the rock wall entombing her. The stone was a kaleidoscope of colors fused by the intense heat of the ancient eruptions. Orange, blue, iridescent yellows, like going to sleep in a jewel box. Hard to imagine Horgar making the same trip into the bowels of a volcano 200 years before to plant the dragon fruit. If it was down there, she was convinced it was. He apparently hoped to return for it someday. Unless, Jeanne wondered, fatigued, what if she really was on a wild goose chase? Had she pushed herself too hard this time? It didn't matter. She'd opened up Pandora's box by digging up Captain Horgar's logbook. She had to uncover the true nature of the sonnets before anyone else. Excuse me. Jeanne's preset alarm woke her after 4 hours. She put on an aluminized heat suit necessary for the final leg. She shot down in one smooth rappel, working the stiffness out of her joints. Looking up, the opening of the volcano was a tiny oval revealing dark mustard-colored clouds. She descended in long bounds, down, down. Her wrist computer flashed 1,000 degrees. Below her feet, the lava bubbled and frothed like an angry milkshake about to explode. 1,400 degrees. The air was distorted with heat, but the rock nearby looked different. She scrabbled on edgewise to get a better view. GCS Journal Report. The rock is porous here. I found megamethogenic lichen. It appears to live off carbon dioxide and heat. The lichens burrowed deeply. During an eruption, the outer layers probably got burnt off. But I guess it grows back to capture energy. Still no sign of the dragon fruit. Near her hand, a pearlescent hydrothermal worm wriggled through the black megamethogenic moss, tunneling its way into the stone. I'm continuing my descent. The rumbling and roaring intensifies. Jeanne turned off her external audio and set her vision shade to maximum. 1900 degrees. The rock around her shook vigorously like she was clinging to a massive wall of jelly. The lava field boiled in all directions, 100 meters below. 2000 degrees, suit maximum temperature. Where was the damn thing? A yellowish rain began to patter down, steaming as it fell. 2010. I think I found something. Through a haze of heat and sweat, Jane saw a strange, small shape, round and smooth. Tendril-like roots grew into the rock. Yellow rain hissed as it came into contact with her suit. Hydrochloric acid. She ignored it, reached down and plucked the dragon fruit. Glancing along the interior rim of the volcano, she saw dozens more just below her feet. She edged lengthwise, looking for a foothold to get closer. Then her rappel lines came tumbling down, dissolved by the acid rain. Shoving the dragon fruit in her pouch, she glanced up, grim-faced, and saw a small, anti-gravity-powered rhodium-plated drone bot descend through the smoke and fumes. Its exquisite silver-hued hull reflecting lava flames. It appeared to be specifically designed for its task, something Jeanne and the cash-strapped society never could have afforded. It serenely lowered itself past her and extended a thin robotic arm, plucking a dozen dragon fruit. Mission accomplished, it floated upwards past Jeanne. Hey, I could use some help here. The drone bot continued its upward trajectory, rudely ignoring her. Hey, you! The silvery speck disappeared over the rim of the volcano. Hey! No response. Jeanne gritted her teeth. She began the long climb up by hand. 4 days later, she landed on Umami. Boundless tundra, greenish gray moss, struggling among endless miles of barren rock and boulder. Shouldering her pack, Jeanne turned to the mountains and walked thoughtfully, and a little sorely. Up a path where stout yellow dwarf shrubs did their best imitations of real plants on this dry, chilly planet. She couldn't guess how long it would take to convince the monk to take her in, but she planned to stay for as long as necessary. After a half-day's walk up the twisting path, she looked ahead and saw it, the monastery perched on the cliff edge. Crumbling whitewashed towers with partially collapsed, gabled wooden roofs were piled on one on top of each other, hugging a sheer mountain wall. The place was in a pitiable state of disrepair. It looked abandoned. She knocked on a rusting metal door, thinking how to present her case, if anyone was at home. Her knocking echoed in the valley. Suddenly the door opened, creaking on worn-out hinges. 2 green points like eyes peered out. Hello, said Jeanne cheerfully. Welcome and good day. Do come in, dearest. We've been expecting you, it croaked. Jeanne paused, taken aback. Come. On her guard, she followed the creature inside. I need some more juice. In the gloomy light, filtered through broken windows, she recognized it as the Dobian, made of Dobe, a gas giant planet. A soft-bodied, balloon-shaped thing filled with helium, pulsating its gas bag body. It pushed itself through the air, trailing half a dozen tendrils on it, thin, manipulative appendages. You brought one for me as well? The Dobian glanced back at her. It wore vision goggles, which glinted greenly like computer screens. You knew I was coming? Jeanne asked. There is one here who precedes you, but if you please, my name is Brother Oten. Oten floated into an open courtyard, or skywell surrounded by desolate buildings, where Jeanne saw the green one worming its tentacles by a fire pit in the middle of the yard. Hello, Soiling. I was beginning to wonder when you'd get here. An open sack with a dozen dragon fruit lay by its side. So, it was your drone bot that left me on Arcturus. I knew you'd be okay. You're resourceful. Another story for your society, huh? Jeanne sat on the opposite bench. He beat her to the punch. Don't look so glum. I suppose you're wondering how I did it. Indeed, it's thanks to you. You thought you could outwit me, hmm? Greelons are not so easily fooled. You certainly not. And certainly not a sister, please. I knew you were up to something when you stepped on that microchip, so I slapped a micro tracker on your shoulder. Jeanne reached for her back. Oh, don't worry, it's dissolved by now. The manufacturer claims there shouldn't be any allergic reaction, but you never know. He shrugged his tentacles. Go on. The rest was easy. I spied on the Society's gathering and followed you to Arcturus with, I may add, a rather expensive and well-crafted drone bot, built with 100% made of Greenland parts, designed by our top Ansel and residence engineer. Naturally, Greelon craftsmanship. Granted, can be a bit shoddy at times, so I hire only the best designers from Ansel. Fortunately, they're more interested in making things than salary. It rubbed its tentacles together greedily. Brother Odin hovered near. I shall prepare your room. It floated off with Jeanne's pack. She kept the dragon fruit with her in her pouch. As soon as the Dovian was out of earshot, Sister Peas leaned forward and whispered conspiratorially, I'm not sure the good monk has all his, the Greenland twirled a tentacle pointing behind his eye stalks. 3 brains in order. He's yet to acknowledge my offer. I requested to become an acolyte, as per your plan, in exchange for this strange vegetable. It's fruit, it flowers. Indeed. I don't care. Between me and you, of course. It hauled up one of the dragon fruit from its bag. A lustrous purple when it first picked, it cooled to a dull pink like a cat's tongue. It's so very soft to touch, yet equally firm, sour smelling. Actually, I've given Brother Odin one already, free of charge. He looked slantwise at Jeanne, as if possessed a secret he couldn't help divulging. And last night, he prepared an edible sonnet for me. Jeanne listened. What was it like, you ask? Flavorful sparks exploded in my mind like fireworks, as if each point on my tongue had invited my brains to a heavenly party. And what about the words? Did they have meaning? It seemed nonsense, but I wonder. It'd be like asking if flavor can have meaning, or words can have flavor. Is it possible? Blissful sensation. I must have the recipe. The Greenland smiled stupidly through its water mask, emitting little bubbles. It is true. Brother Odin floated into the garden. I've been painstakingly considering his proposition. To experience the sonnets is for all. That is their purpose, but to learn to create. The Dovian turned toward Jeanne. I presume you too, like whatever his name is, equally desire to learn the art of the escalante sonnets. It raised a delicate tendril expectantly. Jeanne reached into her pouch and took out the dragon fruit, which Brother Odin accepted. Very well, then. Each of you wish to learn the secret. As you can surely see, I am not a native of Umami, but traveled here, like you, to be initiated into the mysteries. And I believe your presence is a sign our order is meant to live on. Its light won't be extinguished. However, I have had to supplicate myself for many months, fasting, meditating, before the last monk made the ancestral spirits consecrate his bones, decided to teach me. But we can dispense with all that. The impatient Greenland breathed a sigh of relief. However, Odin raised a tendril. The old monk insisted the mysteries were so deep, so intense, so intricate, so mysterious, he could only possibly teach one student at a time. His words hung in the arm. Which of you two should I choose? Jeanne glared daggers at sister Peas. He glared nuclear warheads at her. The Dovian floated to Jeanne. May I please examine your tongue? Jeanne complied with a strange request. Brother Odin peered closely like a doctor conducting an examination. His goggle lenses flashing. And now, don't trouble yourself, Brother Odin. Don't you recall you examined me when I arrived? Odin shrugged his tendrils as if to say there was no helping it. The Greenland sighed and pressing a button on his face mask, the liquid nip burbled into a side tang on his back. The glass covering popped open and, holding his breath, the Greenland stuck out his gray tongue. Very good. Very good. With a gasp, Zister, please. Close his breathing mask. Odin declared, you are both tongue pure. Thusly, you are both eligible for the order. So how did this solve my dilemma? Brother Odin was silent for a few minutes. Then he slapped a tendril on his gaseous hide. I have it. I will agree to teach whoever wins at 4 contests. Is that not agreeable? The getting the dragon fruit was the first test. Good. Then I'm winning, Greenland said. Odin waved a dismissive tendril. You are unawares to begin, so we'll call it a tie. That's not fair. I got more. Tut, tut. Brother Odin was warming to his idea. We should begin tomorrow, but firstly, I must express my gratitude to you for these. He pointed a lightly trembling tendril at the Greenland's bag. And for the one who you brought too, my dear, each one is precious. Without dragon fruit, it's been a sad time since the passing of my master. And each year seems to get colder. Since he has already experienced what all pilgrims journey here for, it's only proper I invite you, tall one, to join me tonight in the grand stuffs for a tasting, or should I say reading, of the esculent Secrets of Umami. Faint starlight sparkled through the broken rafters of the domed ceiling. Brother Odin placidly floated behind a wooden table in the midst of the chamber. Jeanne stood before him. On the table she saw 5 small ink pots in a row. Next to these was a thin, partially transparent square sheet like rice paper. Brother Odin picked up the 5 brushes, one in each of his tendrils. Indefinable smell stirred in the air. A feather swallows the great ocean. Jeanne watched as the brush was dipped in a pot. She saw its tip emerge, lava red, reminding her of the dragon fruit. With a swift stroke, Odin drew the first line of the poem. A spectral light from his visor reflected on the white sheet. Polishing bricks to make a mirror. Another brush dipped, black, an ideogram depicting the second line transposed over the first. Jeanne tasted a hint of bitterness in the wind, blowing through the rafters. The waterfall below the thoughtless cliff dipped a swirl of golden yellow sweetness. And when upon the coup dispersed the nebula white, the taste of salt in the air, like an ocean breeze. The pure parted from the pure. The impure parted from the pure. A final stroke of marine blue with a heartwarming savory aroma. Brother Odin put aside his brushes. With expert deftness, his tendrils folded the translucent sheet with colored markings until it was no larger than a wafer. He floated toward Jeanne. Directly on your tongue, please, while it's still fresh in your mind. Jeanne held out her tongue. Odin gently placed it there like a lozenge. He smiled beneficently and floated back to his writing table, sighing deeply. Indeed, pleasurably at the completion of his task. Jeanne had to admit it was the greatest thing she'd ever tasted. Okay, hold on a second. I think we're going to stop here, and then we begin on the test. So we'll do that, and we'll start with chapter 9. So I hope you'll be back, and we'll begin from 9 until the end of where we're reading. And that, I'm not going to tell you where that is. You'll have to join me again and find out. I hope you're enjoying the Galactic Culinary Society. This is probably one of the most unusual books, and being that I used to be a chef in the military, well, cook in the military, anything that's like this, science fiction and culinary, yeah, I'm going to be heads up for it. So I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am, and I look forward to seeing you on my next reading. Thank you again. You have a good day. Bye.